Stephen Eustaquio was standing on the pitch. 92nd minute. Los Angeles Stadium. Canada versus South Africa. The score was 0-0. Canada had never in their entire history won a World Cup knockout match. Not once in all the years they had ever played international football. And then the ball fell to Eustaquio. Outside the box. Under pressure. Everything on the line. He shot. The ball went into the back of the net. Canada 1. South Africa 0. And something broke open inside Stephen Eustaquio that 92 minutes of professional football could not keep closed. He put his head in his hands, and he cried. Not because of the goal, not because of the history, because of the two people who were not there to see it. His mother Esmeralda died in 2023 after a battle with brain cancer. His father Armando died in 2024 after a heart attack. In the space of 2 years, Stephen Eustaquio lost both of his parents, and he walked onto that World Cup pitch in Los Angeles, carrying both of them with him. And when the interviewer asked him about his parents on live television in front of millions of people, with tears already building in his eyes, he did not compose himself. He did not give a professional answer. He put his head in his hands first, and then he spoke. Everything I do is for my family, for my parents, for my girlfriend, for my daughter, for my brother, for my friends back home, for all of you. Those words, said by a 29-year-old man who had just scored the most important goal in Canadian football history, thinking not about the goal, but about the two people who taught him to love football in the first place, and who were not alive to see what their love produced. But the story does not end with Eustaquio, because while he was on the pitch speaking those words, Canada head coach Jesse Marsch was speaking to reporters at the same time, and what he said was not a tactical assessment. It was not a professional evaluation of the performance. It was something that no football coach manual has ever included as standard procedure. He said maybe Steph is the most deserving to have a moment like that, and then he said something that stopped everyone in the room. I think from somewhere his parents are looking down, and they saw that. A football coach standing at a World Cup press conference in front of cameras and journalists and the entire watching world, telling a room full of people that a dead mother and a dead father were watching their son from somewhere beyond this world, and that they saw him score the goal that made history. There is a version of that press conference that never happens, where Marsch says something tactical, something professional, something safe, where the moment is filed away as a nice goal by a good player in an important match, and where the two people who made Stephen Eustaquio who he is remain invisible. But that is not what happened. What happened is that Jesse Marsch stood at a press conference and refused to let the football be bigger than the human being. He said his parents are looking down, and they saw that. 4 words that told the entire story. Now think about what Stephen Eustaquio's daughter will grow up knowing. She will grow up knowing that her father scored the most important goal in Canadian football history. She will grow up knowing that when he did it, he thought of his parents immediately. She will grow up knowing that his coach stood in front of the world and said that her grandparents were watching from somewhere, and they saw that. This is not a football story. This is a story about what we carry with us when we compete. Every footballer on every pitch at every World Cup is carrying something that has nothing to do with the football. A parent, a memory, a sacrifice, a promise made at a kitchen table years ago when football was just a dream and not a reality. Stephen Eustaquio carried his mother and his father into the 92nd minute of a World Cup knockout match, and when the moment came, he gave them the only thing he had left to give, a goal at the World Cup. That made an entire country stop and feel something real for a few minutes. And somewhere, if Jesse Marsch is right, 2 people who loved their son more than anything watched it happen, and they saw that. Subscribe, because next week we tell you another story from FIFA 2026 that has nothing to do with the scoreline and everything to do with what football actually is.